is our presentation on the Brahmaputra River and its conflict with China and India. Introducing the topic. So the conflict at hand is the building of a dam, and the parties that are involved are China and India, and they're the ones disputing over the dam. Um, the body of water that is involved is the Brahmaputra River, which the headwaters are in China, but it goes through parts of Bangladesh. And this conflict arose because of a dam and its repercussions to both countries. So, yeah.
So, China, having more than 20% of the world's population, has less than 7% of the global freshwater resource at its disposal. The lack of the water in China has made the Chinese to come up with a plan to build dams. However, construction of dams threatens the river's water and its use in the downstream countries. Any conflict with neighbor countries is not good for the hope of China's peaceful rise. India is one of the downstream countries, and Brahmaputra River is very significant to the country. The river is important for India because it accounts for 29% of the total runoff of India's rivers, which makes it a key factor to India's river linking project. In addition, the river's basin possesses about 44% of India's total hydropower potential. China's plan with the dams has been to northward rerouting of the Brahmaputra waters from the Tibetan borders in India, especially in Assam. This has created a hypothesis called Brahma hypothesis, which is a fear of the dam drying up the river. The issues that China and India have dealt with the river are often mixed with border conflicts as well. India and Bangladesh have an agreement with China that requires the upstream country to share hydrological data of the river during monsoon season between May 15 and October 15. The main focus of the data is the water level of the river to alert the downstream countries in case of floods. In 2017, India did not receive this data, which created a lot of tension between India and China. China's argument was that their hydrological stations did not have the needed conditions to provide such data due to the needs for reconstruction after being damaged by a flood. India found this argument odd, as Bangladesh did in fact receive data on time. In India, there are also suspicions that China could divert the waters of Brahmaputra to its parched regions during the dry seasons. China denies this and argues that it has not stored nor diverted water from the river and will not be against the interest of the downstream countries. Another fear that has particularly grown in northeastern India is that China could suddenly release a huge amount of water. This is based on how the water levels of Brahmaputra has been witnessed to sharply rise and fall in very short periods of time. Another threat is the quality of water, which has decreased drastically. Humans who live along the water cannot drink from the water anymore. This is devastating because the water is sacred for the Indians and is used daily for bathing and washing clothes.
So for environmental, it's all about the dam too. The dam has lessened the water flow along with water quality, and it's also thought that China has built a secret tunnel to divert some of the water during its dry seasons and into water-parched areas. Also, the construction of the dam has muddied the water on China's part, So the Indian officials have said that the water has a concrete feeling to it and is really muddy. But India also plays a part in the pollution of the waters. Many Indians believe that bodies of water are sacred, especially rivers. So they do everything the river. They wash their clothes, they pray, they fish, but also a lot of their garbage ends up in the waters. And a lot of runoff and sewage water ends up in the rivers. Due to all this pollution and the concrete sort of stuff from construction in China, the habitat for the fishes have been slightly destroyed, especially for producers. The muddy water is very cloudy and it blocks sunlight from them. So some producers are being affected by this, and then this affects everyone else in the ecosystem and habitat. Climate change has also led to some depletion. It has changed the flow of the river. So now it's hard to determine when there will be high tides or low tides.
So, as of now, the conflict between India and China is still ongoing. India has not received some of the necessary hydrological data that China agreed to give them. And this data is pretty important, especially during the monsoon season when flooding can happen in India, and that flooding can cause some significant damage. And if India doesn't have that, I guess, necessary data, then it could cause more damage um, than is necessary. Because if they have the data, then they can warn people, and yeah, so it's essentially helping them. And then last summer, the Indian Prime Minister and the Chinese President signed an agreement at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and China agreed to hold true to their promise and to share the data throughout the entire year. So, I mean, that's pretty much where the conflict is at now, and we'll see what happens next.